Hey, what's up guys, I'm Hop for TFBTV, and today we're talking about the Springfield XD-E. The XD-E is pretty much entirely unique in the market in that it is a polymer-framed, double-action, single-action, single-stack pistol. There's nothing really special about any of those attributes. Polymer-framed single stacks are almost old technology again, and there are tons of double-action, single-action pistols still being made to this day. But unless I'm mistaken, nobody else has actually tried to put the two concepts together yet. So there's probably a group of guys out there who are looking for exactly this gun. A slimline, single-stack, double-action, single-action pistol for carry. Of course, the thing is that the XD-E isn't actually that small. When it was first announced, I got pretty excited because I was still kind of carrying a torch for double-action, single-action pistols, and I assumed it would essentially be a hammer-fired retrofit of the Springfield XD-S pistols. Then I finally got to hold one, and it turns out the XD-E is not anywhere close to as small as an XD-S. The Springfield XD-S is a true micro-compact single-stack pistol, like a Glock 43. The XD-E is very nearly the size of a Glock 19, depending on which barrel length you get. The only major difference is in the width of the grip and the lost capacity. The XD-E is available in 9mm or 45 ACP, and it's also available with three different barrel lengths, a 3.3-inch, 3.8-inch, and a 4.5-inch. So how do we talk about the XD-E? I always have to start by asking what the gun is for, because I watched too much Nut and Fancy in my formative years, and now I use the term POU in my daily life. I think there's two groups of people who would be interested in the XD-E. The first group is people who under no circumstances are willing to carry a pistol like a Glock, something with no manual safety and a relatively short single-action trigger. Proper gun handling practices and quality Kydex holsters have pretty much supplanted the idea of the manual safety on a carry gun. But there are people out there like that. Some of those guys may still be carrying strong side inside the waistband, a type of carry which is highly dependent on the thickness of the gun in order to be successful. There's also probably guys out there who recognize the potential advantages of carrying appendix but aren't willing to do it with a gun like a Glock, even though they would happily carry a Glock strong side inside the waistband. Carrying appendix means that the width of the gun is no longer that much of an obstacle to carrying comfortably and concealing effectively. But if you're only willing to carry appendix using a double-action, single-action pistol, you're generally going to be limited to large and heavy firearms, almost all of them double-stack, and almost all of them metal-framed. So there's probably groups of people out there looking for exactly this gun. The one I have for testing is the Goldilocks 3.8-inch barreled 9mm. As I mentioned earlier, the gun is almost the same size as a Glock 19 except for the width. And the empty weight is about the same. The 3.3-inch barreled XD-E weighs in at almost 25 ounces, exactly the same as a Glock 19. And that's with a lot less barrel length and significantly reduced capacity. The standard magazine is 8 rounds of 9mm. The gun also comes with an extended magazine holding 9 rounds. That's not too impressive considering you can get a SIG-365 or Springfield's own Hellcat that have substantially more capacity and substantially smaller packages. But again, the reason you'd be considering an XD-E in the first place is probably because you insist on that double-action, single-action manual of arms. Some smaller-handed shooters probably do find the Glock 19 to be a little bit chunky, and the XD-E isn't going to have that problem. The grip texture is not particularly sharp, but the gun has a hint of finger grooves and an undercut, and it does sit pretty well in the hand even though the bore axis is a little bit higher than you might expect. The magazine release and the safety decocker lever are both ambidextrous, although the slide release is not. The safety decocker works very similarly to the one on the HKUSP. Push it up for safe, push it down past fire in order to decock the pistol. You could carry the XD-E cocked and locked, decocked, or decocked and locked if you really wanted to. When the safety is engaged, the trigger is completely disconnected. However, you can still cock the hammer and rack the slide, something which may appeal to newer shooters. And that brings us to the second group of people who may be considering the XD-E. Similar to the Smith & Wesson EZ series pistols, the XD-E requires little effort to rack the slide compared to other pistols of the same size and caliber. This can make it very easy to handle and manipulate for shooters who are less comfortable with firearms or just lacking in hand strength. The XD-E also has a visible and tactile loaded chamber indicator on top of the slide, a feature that I don't really care for, but some people do like it. Another aspect of the XD-E that could make it appeal to the your mom demographic is that it's easy to shoot. The trigger is pretty good, considering Springfield and HS product don't really have a history of doing hammer-fired guns. The double-action pole is very smooth and consistent. The single-action pole has got a bit of take-up and a bit of creep, but it still has a light break. The gun comes with a red fiber optic front sight and white dot rear sight from the factory. I wouldn't see the need to replace these sights, particularly if I was using it with a weapon light.
Here's a couple of 5-shot 7-yard groups. On the top left and bottom left is the Springfield XD-E. On the top right and the bottom right is control groups from the Glock 43. This is using the Federal 150 grain Syntech ammunition. This is a sighting group from something else, just ignore that.
The XD-E shoots and handles very well. I mentioned the tall slide and the high bore axis earlier, but that doesn't really seem to work against it. Again, this is a fairly large and heavy gun for a caliber like 9mm, so recoil is not that bad at all. The grip ergonomics keep it from rotating too much in your hand under recoil, even though that grip texture isn't very sharp. The controls are all well positioned and easy reach. The magazines are explosively drop free, and the mag well is beveled, which makes it easier to insert the fresh mags. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, but there's a bit of an ammunition shortage going on, so I didn't get to shoot the XD-E as much as I would like. I shot a mixture of stuff, including 115 grain Tula steel case, 150 grain Federal Syntech total nylon jacket, and 124 grain NATO spec ammunition. I didn't have any reliability issues with the XD-E, but I only put about 200 rounds through it, so it's kind of too early to tell. So, should you buy one? If you're the target demographic for this gun, yes, you probably should buy one, because it's basically the only gun that will fit your needs. I'm not sure where else you're going to find a single-stack polymer-framed double-action, single-action pistol. The closest thing I can think of is my Ultrastar Ultrastar, and that's kind of cheating for a couple reasons. First of all, that gun has a metal chassis nestled in a polymer wraparound shell. And second of all, I don't think that's a real single-stack pistol. I always kind of suspected the Ultrastar was designed as a double stack and then reduced down to a single stack to be AWB compliant in the 90s. In any case, the Star Ultrastar is every bit as large as a Glock 19, plus it's 30 years old, plus you can't buy them anymore, plus they never made that many. I'm not really sure why I brought it up. I just really like Stars. So yeah, if the XD-E is the gun for you, I'm surprised you don't have one already, unless you were just waiting for a review to find out if they were complete garbage or not. Well, don't worry about it, they're not. I may question your decision to carry a large, low-capacity double-action, single-action pistol in the year 2021, but it's a free country for now. But the real question is, should you buy this one, specifically the 3.8-inch barreled 9mm version? I'm gonna say, no, you shouldn't. You should probably just go with the 3.3-inch barreled version, because it seems like it's going to be the most popular, and that means it's going to stick around, and you'll probably be able to find holsters for it. As of this recording, I still cannot find any quality holsters for the 3.8 or 4.5-inch barreled XD-Es for the life of me. I'm sure they're out there, and I'm sure some crazy guy on Etsy will start making his own homebrew sooner or later, plus you could always just get some Kydex and a heat gun and do your own. But still, I'd like to know that I can get a good solid selection of aftermarket support with a gun that I buy for serious purposes. This isn't the first time that Springfield has offered a long slide version of a compact gun. The XDS was also available for a time in a 4-inch barrel version. And really it just makes sense. The length of the slide isn't really an impediment to concealing a gun. So with the 4.5-inch version of the XD-E, you get a longer sight radius for more accuracy. You also get a longer barrel for more potency with whatever your chosen carry load is. It's not any more difficult to conceal because the two crucial dimensions are the width, particularly if you're carrying strong side, and the length of the grip. So why not a short grip and a long slide? I do think they should be a lot more popular, but for some reason the configuration that people prefer to buy has a long grip and a short slide. So if you think you've got a line on a good holster, buy the 4.5-inch version now before it gets discontinued, because it's probably going to be. Otherwise, stick with the 3.3 because that's the version they're going to keep making for years to come, and it's the version you can actually buy a holster for right now. Thanks for watching. TFBTV is sponsored by Ventura Munitions and Top Gun Supply. We appreciate their support, and we would appreciate it if you would check them out. We are also supported directly by our viewers via Subscribestar and Patreon. You can find links to both of those in the video description. You can also find a link to our Discord channel. Go pop on in there and tell Mabs I said hi. See you next time.